Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we are going to be talking about the 2024 and 2028 presidential elections. Probably weren't expecting that. I mean, we get a lot of 2024 talk, we get a lot of politics in 20 years talk, but we don't get a lot of 2028 talk. So, yeah, now, uh, this, I guess, disclaimer. Uh, when I say, for example, Republican pickup in 2024, this isn't guaranteed to happen. It's just a prediction of the time being, and I'm assuming that the Republicans are going to run, I guess, someone Trumpian, like maybe. I mean, DeSantis has declined to run, but Biden said he wouldn't. Take that with a grain of salt. And for the Democrats, they're 99. They're going to run Kamala Harris unless Biden retires. So yeah, now the first states that we're going to take a look at are the 2024 states. We're going to go from Republican to Democrat. So, yeah, now for the Republicans, I think they're going to pick up Wisconsin and Pennsylvania in 2024. I think Pennsylvania is a lot more iffy than Wisconsin. I think Pennsylvania is a pure toss-up, but Wisconsin probably leans Republican. I'd say they probably have a 60% chance of taking Wisconsin in 2024. In Pennsylvania, they probably have like a 51% chance of winning it. I'm just assuming that Kamala Harris is the nominee, and I think she'd do worse than Biden in rural Pennsylvania. She'd do worse than Biden in Pittsburgh. She'd do worse than Biden in Philly. She'd do about the same as Biden, maybe a little better in the suburbs, depending on who the GOP runs. So yeah, and I think Wisconsin. Actually, for those of you who follow me on Substack, which please do, a link in the description. I write articles on there. And actually one's going to come out tomorrow. It'll be talking about the 2022 Senate elections. Stay tuned for that. But I think Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are going to trend red for like 1 to 2 election cycles, and then revert back to being kind of bluish states, and I think Pennsylvania especially will be pretty blue for like 30 or 40 years to come after 2024 and 2028. So yeah, and this is because of the suburban swing. The suburbs are going to be completely blue until I think the 2030s. And that's why Pennsylvania in particular is going to be pretty blue. Wisconsin's going to be redder than Pennsylvania. It is just, I guess, more Republican DNA because the rural areas in Wisconsin are a bit more Republican than the rural areas of Pennsylvania. So all that stuff. But yeah, now I think that these are I think that 2028 could be a really bad year for Democrats in the Rust Belt because this will be like, I guess, their worst point where by 2032, excuse me, I can't talk today. The trends are resetting into the point where the suburbs are going to be enough to carry the Democrats over the line or over the edge in these states. But in 2028, it'll be, I guess, kind of the peak for Republican support here, if you get what I'm saying. So I think in 2024, both these states are going to flip. So yeah, and these are the Republican Party's flips in 2024. I think North Carolina is going to flip in 2024. I think the suburbs of North Carolina are big enough, and the North Carolina Republican Party, they haven't really done as well in the rural areas as other Republican parties have in these other competitive states. And Biden really didn't, when you think about it, Biden campaigned in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, right? Arizona, and Florida. That's where he campaigned. He did a little bit in Nevada too. He did a little bit in Ohio, a little bit in Iowa, I guess, a little bit in New Hampshire, but he didn't really go to North Carolina. Now, the Democrats, when you think about it, Biden didn't really campaign there. It wasn't a must-win for him. Trump ended up carrying it by a little over 1%. Cal Cunningham was a horrible Senate candidate. I mean, he had an affair, and he got caught in it, and he lost to Tom Tillis because the Trump base came home for Tillis. So, yeah, I think that I definitely think that the Democrats screwed themselves over North Carolina. Cal Cunningham was a bad candidate. But, talking about the House races, the Democrats won the House popular vote in North Carolina. Roy Cooper won re-election as governor by nearly 5%. So Democrats in North Carolina, yeah, Biden lost it, and Cunningham lost a very high-profile Senate race. But, when you actually think about it, North Carolina could have been considered a Democratic win in 2020. Now, that being said, it did vote 6 points to the right of the country, nearly. So it's still a more conservative state than the country is, but you have, I guess, the popular vote is always going to skew Democratic, and North Carolina's trending blue. So I think by 2024, it'll still be more Republican than the country as a whole, but I think it'll flip narrowly for Kamala Harris. So yeah. Now for the Republican 2028, I think that the Republicans are going to be looking at Michigan 2028. They're probably also going to be looking at a lot of other states, but they're probably going to be looking at, I think, they'll be looking at Arizona in 2024, but I think that Michigan's really the only one. And you have the Rust Belt here because I want to specify, or I want to clarify, I guess, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, right? You have, I think those are, I think we can all agree that Pennsylvania and Wisconsin are a bit more Republican than Michigan. Michigan's kind of the bluest out of these three states. But I think the 2028, like I said, is going to be the peak in Republican support in this area. And they're probably going to win Michigan by probably around 1% in 2028, depending on who the Democrats run. But yeah, so I think Michigan is going to go Republican in 2028, then revert back to being blue in the future. So these states aren't trending right. I think Wisconsin, you could make we could talk about Wisconsin, but that's well, believe me, we're gonna be really bored for these next few years, or for these next year, I guess, because I don't find Virginia or New Jersey governor that interesting, and I don't think that I really don't think that any of these special elections are gonna be that cool. But I think Michigan, and I brought that up because I think they were going to talk about Wisconsin in trends in another video on another day. But I think Michigan has, well, first of all, it's more urban. You have obviously Detroit, and each of these states actually has kind of two big population centers. For Michigan, you have, or Wisconsin, Pennsylvania have two big Democratic population centers. You have Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. You have Milwaukee and Madison. But Michigan, they're kind of different. That they have Detroit, which is pretty big, bigger than both Milwaukee and Madison. But other than Detroit, you don't have that other big city. You have, I guess, middle-sized cities spread across the Lansing, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids. Where else? I'm Ann Arbor. I think I mentioned Lansing. There's another one that I'm forgetting. Flint is another one, and so you have these larger cities. And even the Upper Peninsula of Michigan isn't as Republican as it should be. You have a couple of counties up there that are pretty blue, like Marquette County, for example. So I think that Michigan is more Democratic than these other states, like I mentioned. But it'll trend red for 8 years, and then it'll revert back to being blue. So yeah. Now for our Democratic pickups in 2028, I think we got a big one. It's Texas. I think Texas is going to flip in 2028. 2024 is possible. I mean, there are people who think Texas was going to flip in 2020. I never said that. And I think 2024, it's lean to tilt to Republican. But I think by 2028, it's more of a tilt to lean D state. I mean, being realistic here, the people who say the Hispanics are trending Republican, I don't think that they're looking at the data completely. I know that radical politics is kind of a big... He really likes that theory, and I understand why. He obviously has his biases, but I think that Texas, the Republicans in general, and excluding the Republicans in Florida the Hispanics in Florida, who are very hard to analyze, and we'll talk about that another day. But from California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, even in Georgia, there's a decent Hispanic population there. It's not too big though. That was a Biden problem, and I said that with full confidence. I mean, even in the runoffs, some of them voted down ballot Republican because they didn't like Biden and they didn't like the Democrats that November. But in January 2021, Ossoff won. For example, Ossoff won the Hispanic vote by 30. In November, he only won it by 9. So you have the Hispanics are not trending Republican. It depends on the candidate. And again, Biden was a horrible candidate for Hispanics. He made no attempt to reach out to them, kind of like the way Hillary Clinton did with the white working class in 2016. And I've been saying this since August of last year. I've been saying that the white working class 2016 who did not like Hillary Clinton, it'll be the Hispanics who do not like Joe Biden. And I've been saying that Nevada is going to be closer than people think. I've been saying that Texas is not going to be as close as people think. I was proven right. So I think that I have a decent track record talking about how Hispanics vote, and I think it is a Biden problem. It's not a Democrat problem. It's a Biden problem that they need, and that they're going to fix. Again, it depends on the candidate. But I think that in Texas, by 2028, it won't be a big deal for them. So Texas, I think, is going to flip in 2028 right now. So, I mean, there are other states too. And, for the record, I think Montana could flip in the future. I think Utah, Kansas, these are all smaller states that are trending Democrat. Alaska is another one of them. But they're not going to flip in 2020, probably 2030s or early 2040s. But so that should do it for this video. Thank you for all of you for watching. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Did I miss anything? So thank you, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.